All right, today we are diving into a book that has, literally changed the game for so many leaders and successful people over the years. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, this isn't about those quick productivity hacks you see everywhere. No, this is something much deeper. It's a real blueprint for building a life that's not just productive, but truly effective, and it all starts from the inside. So, what's the big idea here? What makes this book so incredibly powerful?
Well, Covey's big discovery was a total game changer. He looked at self-help and noticed that for about the last 50 years, everything's been focused on what he calls the personality ethic. It's all about your public image, social skills, those quick fix techniques to get people to like you. But he found that for the 150 years before that, the focus was totally different. It was on the character ethic, things like honesty, integrity, your core values. And his point is just so powerful. Real lasting success isn't about having a charming personality. It's built on a rock-solid foundation of good character.
So, the journey starts with step 1, taking control. Covey calls this first phase the private victory, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's where we go from depending on other people for our happiness or success to becoming truly independent. It's all about mastering yourself first, before you can even think about working effectively with others.
And this leads us straight into habit 1, which is the absolute foundation of everything. Be proactive. Now, this is way more than just, taking initiative. It's a deep-down belief that you are the architect of your own life. You're not just a passenger getting tossed around by whatever happens, right? No, you are in the driver's seat. You get to choose your response. You get to choose your direction.
So what does that actually look like? What's the real difference? Well, think of it like this. Reactive people are like thermometers. They just reflect whatever's happening around them. If it's sunny, they feel good. If it's raining, they feel bad. They're always blaming the traffic or their boss or the economy. But proactive people, they're like thermostats. They set their own temperature. They're not driven by their moods. They're driven by their values. They actively choose how they're going to respond no matter what's going on.
Okay, to really get this, picture 2 circles. The big one on the outside, that's your circle of concern. It's full of all the stuff you might worry about but have zero control over. Global politics, the weather, what other people think. But inside that is a smaller circle, your circle of influence. And this is where the action is. This circle has everything you can control: your attitude, your habits, your choices. Proactive people, they pour all their energy right into that inner circle. And here's the cool part, the real magic. The more you focus on your circle of influence, the bigger it gets.
All right, so once you've grabbed the steering wheel and accepted you're in charge, the next big question is, well, where are you headed? And that brings us to step 2, define your destination. This is all about getting crystal clear on your vision for your life. This is habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. It sounds so simple, right? But it's incredibly profound. It's just the idea that you've got to know where you're going before you even start the trip. Because think about it, if you don't know what's really truly important to you, how on earth can you know if what you're doing every single day is actually getting you any closer? And Covey has this amazing metaphor for this. It's just unforgettable. He says to imagine you're climbing a ladder. You're working so hard, you're hustling, you're making amazing progress. You finally get to the very top, and then you look around and realize your ladder was on the wrong wall the whole time. It's just devastating, right? So many of us spend our lives chasing things like money or promotions, only to get there and feel empty because it wasn't what we really wanted in the first place. So how do you make sure your ladder is on the right wall? Covey has this exercise that's intense but so powerful. He says to imagine your own funeral. Seriously. Think about what you would want your family, your friends, your coworkers to say about you. What kind of person were you? What did you stand for? The answers to those heavy questions, that's the stuff that becomes your personal mission statement. It's like your own personal compass that will guide every decision you make. Okay, that leads us perfectly into habit 3, put first things first. This is really where the rubber meets the road. You've got your compass, your mission from habit 2. Now it's time to actually do the work. This is the habit that turns that big, beautiful vision into real, daily, disciplined action.
And the big question to ask yourself here is this: are you spending your time on what's important or just what feels urgent? See, this isn't just about time management. It's about life management. It's about making sure you prioritize the big stuff, your health, your family, your real goals, instead of getting totally swept away by the never-ending flood of emails and notifications and all those little things that feel urgent, but in the long run, don't matter at all.
Okay, so those first 3 habits we just talked about, that's your private victory. That's where you achieve true self-mastery. But here's the thing, being effective isn't a solo sport. Once you've got that solid foundation, you're ready for the public victory.
And that brings us to step 3, win with others. This is all about building incredible relationships.
And this next stage kicks off with habit 4, think win-win. This is a massive mental shift. It's about moving away from what Covey calls the scarcity mindset, which is, everywhere in our culture. It's that broken idea that life is a pie, and if you get a bigger slice, that means I have to get a smaller one. For me to win, you have to lose.
So that win-lose mentality, it sees life as a big competition, right? A zero-sum game. But the win-win mentality comes from a place of abundance. It's the belief that, hey, there's plenty to go around for everybody. Life isn't an arena. It's a cooperative space. Your success doesn't take away from my success. In fact, we can both win, and probably win even bigger, together.
But how do you actually get to that win-win place? Well, that requires habit 5. And honestly, this might be the secret to all good communication. It's seek first to understand, then to be understood. I mean, think about it. Most of us don't really listen. We listen with the intent to reply. We're just waiting for the other person to take a breath so we can jump in and make our point. This habit completely flips that on its head.
We have to start with the fact that everybody sees the world differently. We all have our own unique filters and experiences. So instead of just trying to ram our own opinion down someone's throat, we need to practice empathetic listening. And that means you genuinely, truly try to see the world from their point of view, through their eyes. And what happens is, when someone feels deeply heard and understood by you, they become 1,000 times more open to actually listening to what you have to say.
Now, when you take that win-win mindset from habit 4 and you combine it with the deep listening from habit 5, that's when you unlock the magic of habit 6, Synergize. This is all about creative cooperation. It's that famous idea that the whole is way, way greater than the sum of its parts.
Synergy is basically the idea that 1 + 1 doesn't have to equal 2. It can equal 3 or 10 or even 100. It's about truly valuing the differences in other people. Instead of seeing different opinions as a threat, you see them as a strength. When you bring all those different perspectives and skills together, you can come up with solutions and create things that none of you could have ever done alone. It's teamwork on a whole other level. And that brings us to the final, crucial habit, the one that makes all the other 6 possible and sustainable. It's all about always improving. And the habit is called Sharpen the Saw. And this isn't just number 7 on a list. It's the habit of constant renewal that keeps this whole amazing system going. The metaphor Covey uses here is just perfect. Imagine you have to cut down a tree. If you just keep hacking away with a dull saw, you're going to work yourself to death and get nowhere. The smart thing to do is to stop, take a break, and sharpen the saw. Well, in life, you are the saw. You are the instrument. So habit 7 is all about taking the time to sharpen yourself, to renew your energy.
And this means taking care of yourself in 4 key areas. First, the physical. Exercise, eating right, getting enough sleep. Second, the spiritual. This could be meditation, spending time in nature, listening to music, whatever connects you to your deepest values. Third, the mental. Always be learning, reading, challenging your mind. And finally, the social and emotional. Making time to build and nurture those really important relationships with your friends and family. If you let any one of these get dull, the whole system starts to break down. But if you keep all 4 sharp, that's when you have the energy and balance to make all the other habits work.
So in the end, you can see these 7 habits aren't just a checklist you finish once. They're a framework for a life of constant growth. That upward spiral from dependence to independence, and then finally to independence. It really is a lifelong journey. So, I guess the only question left to ask yourself is, which one of your saws will you sharpen today?